All right, Dale. Welcome to this morning's Saturday morning show. This is all about autumn advantages. This is the best time of year, more than likely. A very underrated season. Hence the reason we've got it titled The Five Gold Selling Secrets of the Underrated Season in Fife. You know, Richard, autumn gets a bad rap as a season for selling your home. Um, it's always pushed back behind the blossom of spring, the sunshine of summer, and the festive magic of winter itself. But autumn is what you might call a hidden gem of the seasons to sell. There's still plenty of activity for Fife buyers. This leaves, like the pun there, autumn leaves. To get that in, this leaves the leaves are turning into a bold and beautiful display of colour, and there are no stressful deadlines like Christmas and schools years to meet.
I meant to say the C word, yeah.
Yeah, instead, autumn can actually be the most relaxing season for starting and planning your move overall. Even with Five homes selling quickly, and they still are. You know, we've got one just now. It's like, wow, it's just been put on the market. It's still on pre-portal. It's about to go to websites, and it's getting loads of offers already, way beyond the home report value. I'm really pleasantly surprised, and that's a really good thing. The market's still extremely
Okay, that's a really good
healthy, I
sign.
would say. Yeah, healthy is probably the word I would use, and a bit more buoyant than anybody else expected. What happened to the critics? Where's the crash? Where's the crash? Come on, where is it? Aye, see the media. They just want to play that game all the time, don't they? Doom and gloom, scaremongering to get people eyeballs on their articles. So even with Five homes selling quickly, the average timescale for moving a home remains around, I probably think about 4 to 5 months, definitely, which gives you time and space that you need to plan your spring move. Yes, we are talking about spring moves
Yeah,
because by the time you come in for autumn, we're sitting here right now, just into September. So we're September, October, November, December, January, February. Spring move, almost, January, February, other side of the year. If you're wanting to be in before Christmas, you're struggling.
yeah.
You, ne-
And
you,
we
you,
spoke about that a couple of weeks ago, and I think we worked out, and realistically, it could be up to about 9 months.
Some people, I definitely, because of title disputes, the fact that they've maybe made adjustments to their property that they've not actually verified or got permission from the council to actually do to the interior and the exterior itself. A
Yeah,
lot of
which
people
happens a
don't
lot.
realise they've got to get all these things in place because it can hold up the conveyancing overall in the process of the legal work. So yes, we could probably sell a house in 1 month and 2 months and 3 months, but then conveyancing could be anything from, I don't know, 2 months to probably 5 months, or maybe even
Yeah,
6 months, depending on how that goes. And it's all about who's motivated to do something. Because remember, if you get somebody to buy your house, but they've got a house to sell, and then they have to get somebody to buy their house, and they've got a house to sell, you've got to wait all that time. So the critical path here actually has to be followed. Hence the reason why we could get your house sold, but it can take a lot longer because of that and because of people's circumstances out with our control, out with your control as a
yeah.
seller. This is why getting the best advice in the very beginning, before you even start that journey, when you're in the process of considering it, is the best way forward. Because often the advice that you get is something you'll never have even thought about. So that's why it's important to get your estate agent out earlier. Just say get us out earlier. There's no point in talking about estate agents and everything like that. We know we're the best in the block. That's the
And
reality. Our customers say that. We're sitting at a 99% approval rating of 500 reviews from our existing customers, or buyers, or sellers, or landlords, or tenants overall. So that
yeah,
has to say something, Richard, definitely. We're in the
that,
top 3% in the whole of Britain of the best estate agents guide as well. So that has to say something as well. And that's not us. That's not our data. That's their data, independently verified by these sources, by the ESTAs, which is UK Estate Agent Awards, which is customer reviews, and by the Best Estate Agency Guide, which is actually a panel of experts. And they look at all the analytics about how you answer the phone, what your stock's like, how quick you're selling, or what price you're selling for, and all the rest of it. And that's how they rate you on that against every other estate agent. Top 3% in Britain. Wow.
yeah. You know, when we hit that 500 marker the other day, I had to read look through because I never really had time to review them. So reading through them was quite good to
Hmm.
see the feedback.
Yeah. So the average time scale for moving home, it says, is 4 to 5 months. Definitely. I mean, so if you've been thinking about moving in spring, I would say, but you thought you should wait until the new year to put your home in the market. Well, this week's show is definitely for you in
Yeah.
podcast. This is what the subjects we're going to talk about, just to give you an insight into this. Catching buyers at a timely moment and how to do that. If you want to do this yourself as well, you could do this yourself. You could effectively sell your house yourself if you take this advice on board and actually take action for it. You don't really need an estate agent if you don't want to.
Teaching people how to do it themselves now.
I know, but the reality is, some people just want to do it themselves. To think about, maybe a few £1,000s they can save in the beginning is going to far outweigh the tens of thousands of pounds they're going to lose at the end.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
The thousands of pounds they'll save at the beginning, they'll far outweigh the tens of thousands of pounds they'll lose at the end. Because it's negotiation. You have to have a really good
The
negotiator.
negotiation skills you couldn't teach overnight. It's something that comes with experience.
But some people have that expertise. They've convinced themselves. I've bought and sold 15 houses before. I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay. So what are you going to do for your social media strategy? What? What's the social media strategy? Well, what are you going to do for your retargeting and get in front of all the right people online?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about, retargeting? What's that? I rest my case. If you're sitting asking me, if you're sitting wondering at this point in time and you're watching this and you're talking about what are you going to do for your digital marketing strategy, your social media strategy, what are you going to do for your retargeting adverts to get in front of the right audiences, what are you going to do for your data collection, how are you going to collect everybody's data in order to get the right people to retarget with these adverts? What are you going to do with your drone footage? Who's going to organise that? Who's going to organise your professional photos? Who's going to organise your creative content? Who's going to do your measurements? You could do them yourself. You can get your tape measure out and do it yourself. Who's going to do your listing? Who's going to do the negotiation? Oh, I could do that. I could hear people saying that out there. Oh, I could do that. Okay, fill your boots. You can get it for nothing with some online portals. You can get a free listing for nothing, but free is probably devaluing what you've got.
Yeah, free or cheap is definitely devaluing. It's to get what you pay for thing, and all those things that you just went through there, Jim. For one person to actually implement all that, if they could and if they had the know-how, is a lot of work for one person to do.
Yeah. And if you can't implement that, I would want to hire you.
Yes.
Come and work with us.
Definitely good.
Yeah, we are going to talk. The next subject we're going to talk about is enjoying a relaxed experience, selling with less competition. Yeah, you can sell with less competition, by the way. We'll tell you how to do that, and capturing nature's golden blessing. There's nothing greater than when you see photographs and you've got golden leaves and you've got a bit of sunshine just coming in from the back of it and it just bursts with colour. That's what excites people. Emotion drives price. Facts don't, by the way. Because you've got 3 bedrooms and you're a semi-detached, that does not do anything for anybody, because everybody else has got a 3-bedroom and a semi-detached. What's going to put you head and shoulders above everybody else when somebody sees your listing? What's going to drive their juices? What's going to get their juices flowing? What's going to drive their emotions? What's going to want them to come and see your house? What's going to want them to make an offer on your house? And that is what the lifestyle they can have as a result of owning your home. That's what we're doing. Selling dreams. That's all we're doing. We don't sell houses, we sell the dream that comes with it. And I would talk about getting ahead for New Year sellers. So if you're a New Year seller, we're going to talk about that as well. So if you're thinking about selling the New Year, we're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to finish off with that. So hang on for that as well. So catching buyers at a timely moment. What do you think about that, Richard? Catching buyers at a timely moment.
So yeah, I mean, autumn, as we look at it now, and every year, is really when seeds of many and many more are sown really at that time of year, and often unexpectedly. So I think really after everyone's been out and seized that opportunity to get outside in the summer weather, enjoy their garden, have picnics,
Did you talk about summer? When was summer, by the way?
I got back for the dog walking the dog last night, and I thought I was like,
I put the heating on for an hour yesterday.
Oh, did you? I thought about it.
It's like I just walked out into the hall and I went, Elaine, it's blooming bolted. She went, yeah, it is. Let's stick the heating on for an hour.
Yeah. winter
It's like
definitely started going
we're
in.
in peak season for summer more, and I'm putting the heating on for an hour to take the chill off.
About 7 o'clock it done that last night, and yeah.
I'm
So,
hoping.
and I mean,
I'm hoping it's going to move. You know what it's like, the seasons.
you
I'm
get
hoping
like,
what's going to happen. September and October are going to be bumper months in terms of the
mhm,
weather. We're going to have.
yeah,
We're maybe going to have. We're maybe going to have a late autumn, more than
yeah,
likely. You'll begin to tell because you'll be able to tell by the leaves. If the leaves don't turn and they
change,
still
yeah,
continue to stay green, we know the summer's actually going to extend into September, the rest of September, and possibly into October as well.
yeah.
I think it did last year.
Yeah, it did a little last year as well. But yeah, I think everyone's been enjoying summer, and like I say, in the garden and picnics, and even at the, do you know, the beer gardens at the pub and things like that. But as
Yeah.
soon as that nip of autumn, which we got a wee taster of last night here in Fife anyway, it sends us all retreating back into where it's warm. And as we spend more and more time indoors again, we start paying more attention to the space inside our homes.
Mm,
And this is when you begin to notice where you're feeling maybe a bit squeezed.
yeah.
Um, Maybe the living room feels a wee bit smaller because you're all in there watching TV rather than sat out back in the wide open spaces and things with the summer. Or the children are playing back inside and you've got a wee bit more disruption, and less sense of privacy and quiet. Or perhaps working from home feels different now that the evenings are spent inside as well as the day. That's a
Yeah.
big thing as well. And a lot of people do work from home, and getting out later at night, or walking the dog, doing things like that as your kind of release. So,
It's like the dynamic changes in the house
yeah,
sometimes when maybe when a newborn comes along, or possibly you get married, or possibly you get a pet, and it
yeah,
changes as well. Just and or somebody comes to stay with you, or possibly you start working from home. It's great at the beginning, and then it's like, oh, geez, I'm like, I need space for my laser printer. I need space for my camera. I need space for my laptop. I need space for all my work. I need
yeah.
space for all my filing now because it's got a lot more overwhelming. And it's like, oh my, I'm going to have to get a bigger house.
You could tell you've done. You could tell you've done that, Jim, because you just ran
Yeah.
through everything that I've got around me in my
Equally
office.
though, when you think about it, downsizing as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So you have the downsizing where
on the
people
flip
actually
side,
think,
yeah,
God, the houses are a lot bigger now. And then it's like, I've got to do a lot more cleaning, a lot more, just a lot more maintenance on the house. And it's like, we're never ever using these rooms anymore. What is the point of that? It's costing us an absolute fortune, especially as I think prices are predicted to rise by about 9% for utilities coming up. So when you think
really.
about that, and you think about council tax rising, and you think about, for people in England especially, you've got water rates rising as well. But it's going to rise for us as well overall. So when you think about all these additional costs, and then the upkeep of the garden, everything else that comes with it, the upkeep of the roof, especially going into winter when you've got the upkeep of all the roof and you've got snow in the roof, which causes a lot of damage because it stays there for quite a long time. Then you've got the heating being on all the time, the extra additional costs that go with that. Then you think to yourself, I've been as well downsizing to a more compact home. I wouldn't say a smaller, I mean a more compact in order, and a more manageable home. Maybe is the word we should
Cost
be looking for.
effective as well, depending on
Yeah.
your circumstances. But yeah, I mean, whatever the reasons for considering a move, whether it's upsizing, downsizing, the planting of the idea is where that all starts.
Hmm.
And when it does, um, everyone kind of has that slight thought of buying a new home. Do you know the
Of
thing?
course
And
they do.
of course they do.
Do you know
And
what sets everybody
everybody goes
off?
through that
Do you know what
process.
sets everybody off when they see a for sale board in their street? And then
Yeah,
they go, oh, I wonder what that's on it. And they look up and go,
and then
really?
that's the rabbit hole.
My house is better than that. That's what happens, doesn't it? And then
Yeah,
that then starts everybody else off thinking about, maybe I should get a valuation. Maybe I should wonder where maybe for estate planning as well. I mean, I'm just going through that right now. We're just going through valuations, trust planning as well.
yeah.
So all these different things can actually take into account, which is probably your biggest tax-free asset, which is your family home. Which might not be your biggest tax-free asset, by the way, because inheritance tax might come into play at some point in time. If you've not got that and you're just on your own, for example, and you've never had a spouse, therefore you've got 325,000 as your inheritance tax allowance. Then if your home's going to your children, then you've got 175,000 to add on to it. So you've really got 500,000 in total. So if you've got anything beyond that, that's going to be taxed at the highest rate, inheritance tax, when you go. Now, here's another thing as well.
Yeah.
There's an impending thought, and it's already been talked about, that there's a potential that the current government might actually think about putting capital gains tax before inheritance tax when something happens on your estate. Now, just now you don't. So if you pass away and you've got inheritance tax, that's all you're obliged to do. But they're now going, well, if you've got assets, we want to do capital gains tax on these assets first, and then we'll put that into an estate, and then you'll be taxed on inheritance tax as well. Wow.
So yeah, that's additional to your inheritance.
Yeah, so you need to do some for people in bigger houses worth a lot more money, and you're maybe in your more senior years. Then you've really got to think about something like that, because if you try to transfer it now, you've got 7 years for it to become a potential exempt transfer, to get it out of your estate and into your siblings' estates. So that's the type of things in your children's estates overall, and what to do. So that takes careful planning in the very beginning, because you don't want to leave it to last minute. After all, why should you pay tax if you don't need to?
See, and these are all things that people won't think about. General Joe blogs or whatever won't really think about that. It's not until you've got the right person in front of you that gives you that advice that then you think, oh God, I'm going to have to make changes here, or to think about and mitigate that for the future. So, I mean, those are all brilliant things to advise people.
Talk about the now and give people sort of a thought process in order what to actually think about. But this is all about catching buyers at the timely moment. So, as you said, for whatever reason you're considering moving home, planting an idea is where it all starts. And as you said, what everyone even does, the slightest thought of buying a new home, they're straight onto the property portals, they check out the options, and before you know it, the home of their dreams actually scrolls. With the scroll through, that actually comes up, and it's like, wait a minute, this was meant to be. No, it's because your focus has changed. It was always there, but your focus has changed, and now it becomes into your vision, into your foveal vision, into your straight vision, rather than your periphery vision, which you don't really see on the outskirts. So that's the most important point. So you'll be surprised at just how many moves like this happen, and autumn is often that trigger.
Yeah, I mean, you say you would be surprised. You and I aren't surprised by that, because we know that's how a lot of things transpire. And people jump on the portals, and before they know it, they're putting their house in the market. They've seen this one, and that's how it snowballs. But people don't realise that until they actually start down that path. So, so what about the next point you spoke about, Jim? And it was enjoy a relaxed experience.
Take a deep breath. And relax. Okay, many people move to a deadline. That's pretty clear sometimes, because they give it. Now you don't really have a deadline. It's because you give yourself that deadline, often leaving it to the last minute. And these immovable dates can actually cause much of the stress associated with the buying and selling a home in Fife, and right throughout the UK as well. So often what we try to orchestrate is a move, or what somebody else tries to orchestrate, or what the seller tries to orchestrate, is a move to start for the school year, or to be in a home before Christmas, because they're hugely popular timeframes.
And things that people work towards.
If you want to be in your home before Christmas, you're kind of going to have to give up the ghost now. If you want to be in your home by the new year, after the new year, then probably now's the time to start planning for that now. And effectively, you're probably going to have to go in the market now at this point in time. I would say, definitely. So I think that's where we are overall in terms of where the market is, and where we should be overall. Do you want to talk about the rest of this, Richard?
Yeah. So, and you're right, Jim, because the Christmas and the school starting are things that people always work towards, and there's a massive concentration of activity that increases the numbers of sales going through, and then that puts pressure on the mortgage lenders and the conveyancers, to have everything ready in time, and then that creates that struggle to keep up with the actual demand. And there you can see where that kind of transpires into things that begin to come to a head and really be quite in demand. So for the end of September, say, that kind of mania subsides, and the school year is well under the way, and anyone needing to be in for Christmas has already found their Fife home, which leaves a refreshingly relaxed condition to think about a move. It can get, and it is, and I say mania there, and it can get like that. People get really obviously in that state when they're trying to work towards whether it's the school year or Christmas. And it does put a lot of pressure on the people and the professionals that are trying to do that, like I say, solicitors, conveyancers, and indeed agents like ourselves.
And that's the proverbial one about Tom and Jerry is probably the classic cartoon where the two mice run for the hole at the same time.
Yeah.
And neither of them gets through. It's like the motorway when everybody appears on the motorway all at the same time, and you're in congestion, and then you get to the end of it and think there's no roadworks. What was the hold up? And it's because everyone just appeared at the same time. So this is why it's great advice. First of all, in order to make this a relaxed experience, especially for the solicitor, is as soon as you're thinking about putting your house on the market, or as soon as you've decided, right, I'm going to put my house on the market, get in touch with your solicitor. Get them all the details they need. In other words, you'll have to do your ID, your money laundering checks. You'll have to get your ID and your proof of address to them because they'll have to do that by law. And then they'll start doing all the title searches and making sure everything's okay. If you've got any amendments or any improvements of that you've made to your house over the years, like maybe adding on an ensuite into your bedroom and you've not had approval for it, then you'll need to get approval for that. If you've made any adjustments to maybe put new windows in a conservation area, but actually not got permission to do that from the local authority, then you have to go and get permission to do that. So you can do all these things in advance before you actually possibly even get it on the market, or before it gets to the conveyancing process, because then that could cause a real problem and a hold up in your in the conveyancing itself and in the house sale. And it could sometimes it can actually fall through as a result of that, because some people just go, I don't want to take that risk. Because you sometimes go, oh, well, we'll just give you a letter of comfort, and for things that are in dispute, we'll do a title indemnity policy. So we'll give you a title indemnity policy, and that's you okay. You'll be insured against any comeback for this adjustment that's been made in the titles or been made to the property, and we've just not really got it signed off as such. But you'll be okay with it because they've given you a letter of comfort from the local authority. So these are things that are put in place. But often I've seen that put buyers off, and they've actually walked away from the transaction because of that. So it's quite good to actually get all that preparatory work done well in advance.
That's
and again, I'll go back to the title. Enjoy a relaxed experience. That's what it's all about. It's being relaxed in the whole process. And also, maybe think about putting the house on a bit earlier rather than later. Because here's the example here, how to make it really relaxed. If you put it on earlier and someone comes along and makes you an offer, and it's not the right entry date because you've not found your next house, then you just refuse it. Because if you had waited anyway to put it on later and that person didn't come along, you'd be under pressure. But if you put it on later on anyway, you would have missed that person in the first place anyway. So it wouldn't have made any difference if you refused them now because you were on the market, or missed them later on. See what I mean? That's a lot less stressful putting it on earlier rather than later.
A lot of people do try and list a lot later down the line than what they should have, and they end up in that state where they're put under a lot of pressure.
Well, why do you think that happens, Richard?
Because obviously people don't think ahead, and like you say, it's so important to ahead of time get yourself.
But what does everybody else tell them about their house?
Oh, your house will sell in no time.
Oh, your house will sell no bother in no time at all. Okay, what happens if it doesn't? That's what you've got to think about. It's the disaster recovery thing. If it doesn't sell in that quick time, you're under pressure. Because if you've made an offer on another house conditional upon you getting an offer on yours within a short period of time, you're out on a limb. And basically, if the only kid on the block that comes along and makes an offer for you is a lot less than what you're needing in order to make that transaction, you might be in a position where you have to accept that. I know somebody's lost £50,000 on that, by the way.
Really?
50 grand. because they've gone and bought a property and bridged it on a million, and bridged that property on a million bridging. Yep, absolutely. And the only kid on the block has £50,000 less than their home report. It's not us. It's another agent that's done this in St Andrews, but that's what's happened. They've put themselves completely under pressure, against my advice completely at that time. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Just can't see it. It's like, oh well, we'll make it happen, as if something's going to happen miraculously out of thin air. It's like, oh, it'll just happen because it's always happened all my life. Well, today is the day where it's not going to happen. So now what are you going to do? You're in for 50 grand straight away, lost, just like that. And yet, if you hadn't done that, you would have been in a position to turn that person away and say, look, nah. Your bargaining position would be a hell of a lot better as a result of that. And that's the key here. That's how you can make it so relaxed for yourself. Often I find, Richard, the agent gives the seller the right advice, but the seller doesn't want to follow it because they think they know better.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
So in case you're wondering about the level of inquiries for Fife buyers, it is actually extremely high now. Still, we did the Fife buyers market, I think it was Sophie and myself, a strategic guide for Fife buyers and sellers. And we ascertained, here's the data here, we ascertained that we are still in a hot sellers market in the Fife area. On average. I'm not saying that St Andrews isn't a balanced market. East Nuke probably just into a seller's market. But overall, when you take into account Glenrothes, Kirkcaldy and Dunfermline, we're still in a hot sellers market in Fife.
Yeah, and as you say, there's a great example of that, obviously the one you just put on. And you're not even, are you even at portal stage?
We've not even got it on the website yet. and it's way beyond.
Which again demonstrates the power of social media.
Yeah, literally all the fees paid and cash back in the exercise, and more than the home report value, even with their fees paid. So they've got more money in their pocket to make better choices overall, and I think that's the most important point. So it is a hot sellers market still, on average in Fife. So parents in particular find viewings far easier when they don't have kids in tow. You remember that. So it makes it more relaxed for them. But this year's unsatisfied demand, and it still is, has kept the market strong and ready with waiting buyers for probably every type of home in Fife. There's no, let's be honest, there's not as much buyers as there was in the boom market, because really we had half of the stock. The number of properties available for sale through Fife is about 1,100 just now, and in the boom market there was only 550 available. So you could see how prices started to go up astronomically. And in the boom market as well, where they were sitting in an extreme. Now, an extreme sellers market, by the way, is between 70 and 80%. And in the boom market, it was at 83%.
Jeez.
In June 21, 83%, and in June 22, 78%. In December 22, it was 68%. We're still in an extreme sellers market, and they went in a hot sellers market from March 23 onwards. Hot sellers market still quite adequate there. See that overall? See the boom right in here, and it comes down and it goes right along, and it's nice and steady. So we're still in a hot sellers market overall. If you want to see that blog, just look back some of the YouTube videos and probably 2 or 3 shows, and you will see where the market is right now in terms of that.
Yeah, okay. That was just last Thursday, I think he's done it.
That then brings me back then to talking about how do we sell with less competition then? Because this is the other subject we want to talk about. Sell with less competition. What's your thoughts on that?
So yeah, I mean, you've obviously spoke about different times of the year and different years indeed, and obviously that 21, 22 was obviously really an exponential rise in the market. And if you've ever looked at property on the portals during the peak selling times of the year, say spring and early summer, you'll remember how many hundreds of homes you need to scroll through before hopefully finding the one, as they say. So with so many listings to get through, it can be easy to miss the perfect home. For no other reason than the sheer volume of properties that are available and entries on the portals. Then there's the task of actually getting around to seeing everything. You have to actually physically go and look around things and everything, which can feel like an impossible mission, which sometimes is when there's so much available, when there's an oversaturation in the market, we would say. So it makes sound marketing sense to list your home for sale when the competition is a lot less or a lot smaller.
Every single time. I mean, I'll be honest, that's why I go on about winter. It's like when you go into the winter period, people go, I don't want to put my house in the market because the garden's not as attractive. And it's like, newsflash, everybody's garden's not as attractive. But yours is still probably a lot more attractive than everybody else because it's winter. That's just the way it is. If anybody's got flowery photographs on there in the middle of winter, then it just tells you their house has been sitting on the market for quite a while, if that's the case.
It's sitting since the middle of the year, yeah.
Yeah, and what does that tell you then? It doesn't really tell you anything, actually. A lot of people say, what does that tell you? And they go, something must be wrong with it. Something must be wrong with it. And I'm like, no, it just means the buyer's not in the market at that particular point in time. But we have proved this, Richard. You know, over the years, I've sold a house on Christmas Eve, sold a house on Christmas Day, sold a house on Boxing Day, sold a house on New Year's Eve, and sold a house on New Year's Day. New Year's Day was Kirkwind and Crail. One bedroom, ex-local authority, upstairs flat, 210,000. Downstairs with another agent a month before went for 165. Exactly the same property.
That was a good result.
That shows you there's a fundamental difference between us and everybody else. It's like comparing a Ford Mondeo with a Ferrari. One of them is going to get far superior results at the end. By tens of thousands, possibly. Even if it's £5,000, it covers everybody's fees.
That's where you then see the added value and the end result.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're absolutely right. It's added value, end result. Not everybody's going to get it. A lot of people go in with the attitude of, I just need the cheapest fee. But then you've got to keep asking yourself, with an agent, if you're going for an agent because they've got the cheapest fee, and that's all they've got to offer is the cheapest fee, how do you think they're going to negotiate the price of your house at the end of this? If they can't negotiate a fee with you properly, how do you think they're going to negotiate with your buyer? They're not. They're just going to take an offer from the buyer to you as the seller and say, what do you think? It's like, sorry? I thought you were doing that job for me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm only getting paid a small amount from you. I'm not doing that. That's the typical example of what you get from cheap fee agents. It's like they're just based on volume. They need to keep churning them through in order to get them sold as quick as possible. And they couldn't care less what the end result is, as long as they get the house sold.
Yeah.
Even a couple of thousand more. So say the example is you have to pay £500 more compared to another agent. You have to pay £1,000 more for another agent. Imagine that other agent got you £2,000 more. You're £1,000 up at the end of it. But you're only paying them once you accept that offer. So if they get you that offer, they get that as well. And you get a bonus. It's like the added example. I talk about this all the time. I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. And that's kind of the same scenario.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then when we look back at obviously competition, and I was saying about obviously when competition is less or smaller, the chances of being noticed are really greater when there's less property on the market. So obviously the certain times of year, like you said, obviously winter, when people think it's not the time to list, you'll find it much easier to stand out and shine when you're not competing with the crowd. And buyers often offer faster when there are fewer reasons to stop them from making that decision, i.e. a lot of the other choices out there.
Yeah, definitely. But then that's when it comes back to making sure you've got an agent with a singular, with single social media strategy just for your property and no one else's. In other words, how are they getting your property and only your property in front of their audience?
Yeah,
because you don't want them to advertise other people's properties. The QR codes on the boards are a classic example. You go and scan one of our QR codes on our boards, it goes straight to your property and your property only. You go and scan a QR code on anybody else's board, and it either goes to their homepage or it goes to a list of their properties. And it's like, why would you want to be advertising other people's properties on your for sale board? You've paid for it and bought it, and you're advertising other people's properties. This isn't a property portal. This is my house I'm selling.
Yeah.
I just want all eyeballs on my house and no one else's. But
Yeah.
that's not how that works for other agents and other QR code providers. So that's why we put a singular QR code. It goes direct to your property. That's why we do specific singular campaigns on social media for that seller's property
Individual
and
property.
no
Yeah.
one else's. We just want the eyeballs on theirs. It's their property. They've paid for it. They should get that. No one else should get the benefit of them paying for it. And that's like for every single seller as a result of that. So every single seller gets a unique approach tailor-made to their property and their property only. When someone inquires as a buyer, they're inquiring about your property. We don't talk about everybody else's on the phone because that's
No.
not the way. But I know other agents do that. Oh, well, what about this one? What about that? Wait a minute, I'm only phoning about this one. And I think
Yeah.
to myself,
Lead them off in
oh,
a different direction.
that's when I think to myself when I'm getting that advice, because I'm a buyer, I'm a landlord and investor, and they talk
Mhm.
about other properties at the same time when I'm acquiring about one property, and I'm thinking to myself, God, if I was a seller and I knew somebody was doing that with my property when they
Yeah.
were inquiring about mine only, and then they were endorsing other people's properties to go and view at the same time, I'd be pretty miffed.
Yeah.
That's a volume agent.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most
And you
most
really need
estate
to have
agents are
that.
volume.
Yeah. And you really need to have that tailored marketing strategy surrounding each individual listing, like you say.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so most Fife sellers actually wait until the new year to put their property on the market. So now's your chance to actually hog the autumn limelight here,
Yeah.
and I really mean it. The autumn, you know what it's like when you see these photographs, and it's like, wow! The sun bursts through these, and when you see the video that we do, and we come around videos and go, by the way, here's the sun, and it just bursts through the leaves, the golden brown leaves, and you just get that. Oh, geez, that is lush. I think lush is probably the word I would use in terms of that. It's just so beautiful when you see all these beautiful colours that burst out in these videos and actual pictures overall, especially drone. When it
Mhm.
hits when the sun hits the coastline. Obviously, we'll have to mention the Fife Coastal Path
Yeah. You
in
can't
that
know
conversation.
that.
Had to get that in there somewhere. But it's true. So now's your chance to hog that limelight, agree a sale, and get your move underway, and agree
Yeah.
a later entry date as a result of that. Because people will wait. Because remember, they would actually wait. Because preferably, most people now don't have the cash. They're not ready to go. They're not in a position to proceed. They usually have a house to sell more than likely in this type of market. So that's what you'll end up with. So if you're trying to do a deal within 2 months in order to do a commitment and you've agreed to buy another house somewhere else, you're going to put yourself under extreme pressure. I'll come back to the thing about enjoying a relaxed experience.
Yeah.
That's what your house selling process should be.
Yeah. If
That's why you
everything's
take
rushed,
advice from your agent.
and you're under pressure and you're starting to feel panicked, and it could ruin the whole experience as well. And it can be quite a good experience if done correctly. But you spoke there about, Jim, about obviously those, do you know, that autumn feeling and the low light and the golden leaves and things. And that brings us on nicely to really the next point we're going to talk about, and it's capturing
Mhm.
nature's golden blessing of in autumn. And really, when it comes to conjuring up the warmest of welcomes with an inviting invitation to step inside from the chill of the air outside as it starts to get colder, it doesn't get much better than having your home framed by really dazzling gold leaves and the trees surrounding against that crisp blue sky.
Yeah, it does look great, doesn't it?
That's great. So really, as the year's most colourful, coordinated season approaches, which is autumn's sumptuous palettes of reds and oranges and yellows
Those
and greens, and like you still have the evergreens and things as well, can really be a photography and videography's dream, and produce some of the most incredible and memorable photos and videos for your Fife home. And
Yeah.
I have to say, we do capture that really well in the listings for sales, and indeed lettings as well. And as you say, Jim, drone and professional photography, and obviously our videos and things, they all go hand in hand to create that experience and really
Mhm.
bring that feel forward for the autumn season.
Yeah.
So
It really is. It really is a special kind of magic, isn't it? It's like
That's,
I could hear the Queen music. It's a
you
kind of magic.
just need to know how to
Now I've
capture
said that,
it.
but it is really supremely eye-catching and equally hard to resist.
Yeah. It's finding that right way and having that expertise to be able to capture that correctly in your listing.
Well, that's all down to booking your photos and videos for the time of day when your home looks the best, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then letting the sun catch the leaves for a fiery, radiant glow, making sure the tide is in, especially if you're on the coast, so
Yeah.
you can see the sea rather than a huge foray of rocks. That is a big no-no most of the time. We try and coincide most photographs, most drone footage when the tide is in. No one wants to see a whole load of rocks right out the front.
Mhm.
And even though your house is sold, and that's what you've done, you've probably lost about £5,000 to £10,000 in the end result because of that photograph or that video being like that. I definitely think that's the case, and I definitely have got evidence to suggest that overall. So I could probably prove that if I needed to.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people understand why that's so important, just to get that mindset right in the buyer's mind. And you don't know what the buyer is, who the buyer is, and how they respond, but they've got all the different senses about the sight, the smell, the sound, the taste overall, everything. And you could paint that picture easily in a video, but not a silent video. Who wants to
No,
hear Charlie
I wouldn't
Chaplin music playing? Who wants to hear Who wants to hear Florida music playing on a video
Yeah.
walkthrough? It's like, yeah, I might feel upbeat and great about it, but it's not going to sell the house.
No.
What I want to know is, what is the house going to be for me? What is the buttons it's going to push for me? Am I looking for a bigger house? Am I looking for the right schools? And where are these schools? Am I looking to be near countryside because I'm maybe a cyclist? I'm maybe a
No.
runner. I maybe walk my dog every morning. I maybe just love it. Or I'm at the seaside. Can I go open water swimming every morning? Is there a pool, an open water tidal pool near the Cellar Dyke one, the West Braes one, the St Monans pool? Anstruther's got their own one, and round about the harbour area can still do open water swimming there. So these are all the different things that people want to know. St Andrews as well. They've got their open water swimming as well, and they've got fantastic coastline overall. There's lots of places, Kingsbarns, you name it, it's got it. Even Kirkcaldy's got beautiful places. You've got the Silver Sands at Aberdour as well, which is a gorgeous place to be. So when someone's not promoting that, that's actually hindering a potential buyer from paying more for your property just on that. And yeah, you don't even own it, but it's because it's near it. Why do you think? Look at it this way. I could take the same ex-local authority flat from St Andrews and I can put it in Leaving, and the St Andrews will be 250,000 and the Leaving one will be 80 grand.
Yeah.
And it's the same property.
Yeah,
Why
no,
is
they're
that?
same.
Why is that? It's not because of the land, it's because everything that's round about it. But how does someone from further afield know what's round about it if they don't know the area at all? And they can't afford the time to do the research. Your estate agent should be talking about that and telling them.
Yeah, and what's interesting is some agents might say, but it's in the listing, I've wrote it, it's written in the description.
Oh, I've got an answer to that straight away. Let me give you that answer. What's your favourite TV programme just now?
I'm watching Lost just now, you know that.
Let's look at Lost then. Everybody's watched Lost, okay? Millions of people have watched Lost. Hundreds of millions probably over the years with the reruns of Lost, the show. Okay, so I tell you what we'll do from now on. For all these hundreds of millions of people that watched and want to rewatch it, I'm going to change the way we do things. I'm going to give you pictures of the cast and I'm going to give you the script to read instead of watching Lost. How many of these millions of people that have watched Lost before will go on to continue to engage with Lost again with just the photographs of the cast and the script?
You wouldn't.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's exactly how traditional estate agency is done.
Yeah.
Photographs and descriptions. Why would you not be in a TV age? Why would you not have a videographer? Why would you not have a presenter talk-ups? It actually accentuates all the great things about your property and the area it actually resides in, and actually plays on that to increase the added value at the end of it, which is significantly more than the few £100 you might be able to save at the beginning.
Yeah.
I rest my case, Your Honour.
And if people are wondering the difference in that, go and look at one of our listings and watch the video on how interactive and how it's portrayed about the area around the property compared to another listing in a similar area from another agent, and it's just photos and descriptions, and you'll see the difference. It's plain to see.
Now, I get a wee bit of ribbon for things like Fife Coastal Path, mention it all the time.
Yeah.
I get a wee bit of ribbon now. People are saying, "Oh, has it got cafes, bistros, and restaurants now?" It's like, but that's what people want to know. You don't want to buy a house and then find out there's nothing on your doorstep, and you're miles away from a primary school, and the high schools, you know, the back of beyond, or even the private schools, miles away as well, and you've got to get in your car every day and motor over there, and all the time and the expense to do that. No, you don't. You want somebody to tell you what's in the area straight away, especially if time's so valuable now today in today's world, and that's what a video talk-up's all about. That's the whole point of it. You want people to tell you. Who knew that St Monans had Craig Miller Restaurant? People of St Monans did. The Giddy Gannet,
Yeah.
the East Pier Smokehouse, and then you've got the Walk and Spice at the top of the road as well, the Malaysian takeaway. And then you've got the beauticians that are all about there. You've got the fish merchants. You've got all this beautiful produces in St Monans. You've got the mini market as well. Then you've got the open water tidal pool. And then you've got the playing fields for football and for the children in the play park. And then you've got a fantastic primary school. You've got a fantastic community field. And above all, it's just 3 miles outside Ely.
Yeah.
One of the most desirable places in the UK. And you're just along the coastal path to get back to it. And then the history that comes with it as well. The Battle of St Monans, which was instrumental in the reformation of the church that took place there. Nobody talks about that, but that was one of the key things there in St Monans. The old kirk. And they've got Newark Castle, the Ducot, the historic Ducot in Newark Castle, the ruins that are along the path to the coastal path going back to Ely. And then you're back into Ely and you've got Ladies' Tower sitting there as well, which Lady Anstruther used to tell everybody. They rang the bell in the main centre, and it was to tell everybody she was getting changed in Ladies' Tower or down the bottom of Ladies' Tower in the wee cave at the bottom, so nobody was to go down the beach because she was getting changed.
There's so much history, and that's what you could put over in a video.
Absolutely.
It's interesting.
That's how I sold a house once. That's how I sold a house once. They never wanted to make an offer. We're not going to make you an offer, Jim. I burst out with the Battle of St Monans, the Reformation of the church, all the rest of it, and they went, "We're going to make you an offer." It was the first time a one-bedroom apartment had broken the 100,000 barrier in the area.
Yeah, I remember that.
Everybody was gobsmacked, and that's how it was done. Just on that.
And I find it
now no one can tell me that video and talk-up walkthroughs are not superior to anything else, because they are.
Yeah.
Even Meta agreed with me. Meta was like, "Oh, your videos are too long. 10 minutes is a long time. Maybe we should give you some advice." And I went, "You looked at the analytics. Go and quickly look at the analytics." And they looked at how many people watch it all the way through, and they went, "You're absolutely right. Just keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah, because you could actually see how many people watch it.
I'm surprised Meta hasn't jumped on that and went, "Could you actually come in and do a wee bit of consultation for us and tell us what's going on here?"
That's really interesting, because obviously they're thinking this is too long, you're not going to get the engagement, but you actually are.
Yeah. Everybody watches them.
And I find it interesting when you say about the Fife Coastal Path, and people do kind of come back, and it's like, but when you list as much property as you do in that area and close proximity to it, why would you not keep beating that drum?
You would always talk about it. Yeah, I think that it's just a tongue-in-cheek to engage. I find it funny at the fact that, and somebody said at one point in time, they need to name a section of the Fife Coastal Path after you. I think it was Dan Peaty of the East Neuk Salt Company. Although, I tell you what, East Neuk Salt Company is going to end up being a water business.
Well, yeah,
Bottled
utopia.
water. It's like, wow, when you see their product there. See what I mean about thriving businesses in these areas that no one knows about, and opportunity and the crafts and the arts and everything that goes with it. And that is what sells in there, especially if you're an artist and you find out this is one of the most, this is like the French Riviera.
Mhm.
I'm going to use that in a video one time.
That's a good
This is
comparison.
equivalent to the French Riviera with the artists sitting there and painting. This is what the Fife Coastal Path is really to the East Neuk and to all the areas, because you see that every single time. This is definitely an attraction. I am going to use that. It's
So
amazing what you
would that
learn when
make
you
it
talk about it.
would that make it the Scottish Riviera?
Yeah, the Scottish, well, seaside. I'll come up with some.
Yeah, come
Some
up with that.
fantastic phrase. No, the Scottish seaside or something like that. But there'll be something somewhere. If anybody's got any ideas to that, please feel
That'd be
free to
quite good.
mention something in the comments about what you would compare or what you would say about the Fife Coastal Path and for the artists in comparison to the French Riviera, where they talk about for the artists and how they sit in that picture that it paints over, excuse the pun, paint, picture, paint artists,
Yeah,
all the rest of it. But what it paints,
yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, video is definitely obviously has that effect. So book your photos and your video for the time of day when your home looks its best in that autumn light. A lot of people are surprised when they say, obviously, when we're booking in photos and video, and we'll look at the weather and or the tides, like you say,
Aye.
Jim, and they'll be like, "Oh, I never thought of that." Well, yeah, because
I'm
that's
not
when
coming round because the sun's not going to be on the back garden
yeah,
at that point in
yeah,
time. That's when I want to come round because that's your selling point. The very fact that
yeah,
your sun's on the back garden and you're mainly south facing, so you don't want it when it's towards the middle of the evening or first thing in the
no,
morning. You want it smack bang right in front of you when you walk out that back door. And
yeah. So
equally, if it's on the front, then you want to capitalise on that as well. So you want to book it at a time of day. But then if you've got, this is where it comes into key here. You've got to make sure you coincide with the tide being in at the harbour, possibly, if you're down the front, and then the sun being out, and less wind as well, and the rain as well, and then the moon and the stars and everything aligning at
getting
the same
everything in a
time
line.
in order to get the perfect scenario.
Yeah,
And often we've managed to get that, but often I've gone, I'm not coming round to do it now. If you're okay with that, because of this, it's just
yeah.
not quite right.
It's
Can
not
I
looking
just play
right.
by ear? And if the sun comes out at the right time at the weekend, I'll give you a quick call and I'll run round and we'll get the videos done.
Yeah,
And they usually go,
and
yeah, that's brilliant.
it
How
just
many
makes
agents do that?
all the
You never get another agent to do that. Never, ever, ever. But this is the pursuit of excellence.
yeah. Yeah, whereas the other ones will just follow a process and not deviate from it, even though it's going to enhance the listen or enhance that whole experience. And you're right, that time of day when the sun catches the leaves and you get that really fiery, radiant glow coming
Yeah.
through because they're at that kind of amber stage in autumn. So if you'd like any other tips in maximising your curb appeal and things for autumn, then obviously come to us and have a chat. We're more than happy
So
to
this
go
is
through
where we
that.
get ahead of the New Year sellers.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do about that, Richard? I mean, getting ahead of the New Year sellers to finalise this and finish off.
So if there's anything we can safely rely on from the property market in Fife, it's the constant seesawing between feast and famine, feast and famine. Do you know, at the peaks
Mm,
and troughs. One minute there's more houses available than you could ever view, and the next it's a bit like, as we're approaching just now, there's a wee bit less to choose from, and
yeah.
there's not such a saturated market, and there's not a lot around to choose from as there was earlier in the year and indeed the year before. So
Mm,
seeing a lack of homes to buy could deter people from putting their own Fife property up for sale in case you can't find anywhere for you to then move on to. And that's a big fear that's in people. Like, I can't put my property on the market now. There's nothing on that I like at the moment. But
yeah.
you can't wait until you see your property coming on the market and then put yours on.
Don't wait till last minute.
No.
Don't wait till last minute. We've just talked about that before, about putting yourself under so much pressure and stress as a result of that. Go earlier and plan and manage the sale.
Yeah, and then people might, that's how people think that, like that fear thing. They don't want to make themselves or their family homeless in essence. So they decide to wait until the new year and the traditional upturn in homes coming onto the market then. So it's logical thinking, but you can use the market better to your advantage than that
Mm.
strategy. So what are most people thinking about when they're selling their Fife homes in the new year, say?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I think that they'd start talking to their agents around the October, November time,
Yeah.
which means we'll know more about their home than more about their home than what's visible online. So by having a buyer already in place, you'll put yourself in pole position to secure one of those before they hit the market.
Mhm.
So then, or you really need to be ready to offer when they do come up for sale, in say the
This is
January time.
Yeah, this is where it comes back to the coincidence of maybe even capitalising the Boxing Day bounce when
Yeah.
it happens. I mean, we talk about that usually, typically in the winter campaign, but it's still something to be relevant, to be mindful of, especially if you're considering it now and you're taking advice and you're thinking, actually, I'll go in winter
Hmm.
because winter seems the most attractive season because there's less houses on the market to compete against,
Yeah, less
and
competition.
all the buyers are still there, by the way. Because on average, everybody, but on average, it's the same statistics every single month that people, the number of people that buy in every area.
Mhm.
It's the same every single month. It's almost the same. It goes up and down when you come to the quieter periods, but the reality is, if your house is attractive enough, people will buy it. If it's priced accordingly at the right price, the entry point to attract people to view and then push them back up to the right home report value and beyond, then that's another strategy as well. So we're following all different strategies. It has changed from the boom market. A lot of people don't realize that. The pricing strategy has changed from the boom market. We're using and adopting a different pricing strategy now. And it's working extremely well in comparison to the one that we used in the boom market. So it
Yeah.
works a lot better than that one. And it's just about pivoting. Do you know what it's like? When you have your magnifying glass and you've got your paper and you used to set it in line with the sun and used to
Yeah.
get the wee dot and then it used to set the paper on fire. Well, that's kind of how we're doing things. The sun's moved a bit now from the boom market, if that makes sense metaphorically. So what
Yeah.
we're needing to do is adjust the magnifying glass, and our strategy is the magnifying glass. We just adjust our strategy a bit to come in alignment with the sun again, and boom, we're on fire again. That's
Yeah.
key. That's how proactive. You need to find the proactive estate agents that understand that and are not just one-trick ponies and go, "Oh, we'll just put your house on Rightmove and Zoopla and
See how
fingers
it goes.
crossed." See, oh, that's the worst. Oh, see how it goes.
Hmm.
We'll test the market. Oh my God. Oh, you should run for the hills if you hear somebody saying that. We'll test the market. No, don't. That means they're doing trial and error with your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not sure what we're doing, so we're just going to do trial and error and see how we get on. Oh my God, run for the hills.
Yeah. Yeah. Test the market is just it's really they're experimenting is the word.
They're
Um,
experimenting with your
yeah.
house and your price. And that, what experimentation causes? Quite a lot of damage sometimes. And there's a lot of casualties out of that as well. So don't look for trailblazers and stuff like that. And it's like, because the pioneers are often do a lot of damage on the way. So, fair enough. But then you've got to look for people that have got a track record, I would say. So you can, getting ahead of the New Year sellers and all the rest of it in pole position, securing that place to hit the market and have somebody ready to offer and for your sale and potentially and concluding in January and February. So you're in after Christmas, then it's ideal for you. You'll even catch all the sales that you can get as well, which would be ideal for furnishing your house. Just in the run up to the Christmas period, so you catch all the Boxing Day sales and stuff like that to get all your knickknacks for your new
Yeah.
house overall. But the vast majority of buyers will wait for you to find your new home if you're open for them, if you're open with them from the very start. And we talk about that for a lot of
Mhm.
times. If you've not found your dream home yet, but you're like, I need a bit of certainty here as to who's going to buy this house, how much they're going to pay for it, then that's the strategy you should be. That's the relaxed strategy you should
Yeah.
be using. Because those that are looking now will usually not be rushing against the clock, and they will often agree to your entry date or your flexible requirements that you need. We've had that. I mean, I've had an entry date at 12 months before. Now, the 12 months wasn't used all. So what happened is they agreed to the 12 months. I locked them in by saying, you have to conclude missives as quick as possible. And by the way, we're wanting a £10,000 non-refundable deposit to pin your colours to the mast. And they agreed to all that. And that allowed the seller then to have certainty that that's going to happen. And then they said, look, if you want to bring it forward as well, we're happy if you bring it forward because we got that type of buyer for them. And lo and behold, what happens is they brought it forward by 6 months and they were able to find their next home easily. No stress.
Yeah, that's a really stress-free transaction and experience.
That's the greatest position to be in.
Yeah.
Stressful for us as estate agents.
But
that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard, why have a dog and bark yourself?
I know.
It's like, I don't understand it. Why there's some people, it's like, oh, I want to control every aspect of the sale. Why would you then get an estate agent? What is the point? Because they're there to do the best for you and give you the best advice. So why would you do that? Why wouldn't you get someone that knows exactly what they're doing, exactly what they're talking about, and is world class at what they do, and just so happens to be possibly the 4th time as the #1 estate agent in Scotland? Hint, hint, hint.
It's true though, and I think if your agent is doing the bare minimum and feels quite relaxed, and you're absolutely stressed and feel like you're doing a lot of things, there's something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Final words.
Well, autumn, I think autumn's destiny is probably to remain as the underrated time of year for a buyer.
Definitely.
But for those in the know, the golden season holds several unique and valuable benefits which comes with selling your property in Fife, and we've just covered quite a lot of that today. So, I mean, we'd love to help anyone capture your home in that autumn best. So you could move into a new place from the beginning of spring without any stress, without all that manic feeling and things rushing at the last time. So feel free to contact us if you do want to talk about that or anything that we've covered in today's show. There's a link in here to click through and speak to us.
Yeah, definitely. I got asked the other day, actually, just to finish off on this, and I was interviewing someone, and I said to them, "What do you think we do?" And it says, "We sell houses." And I went, "No, we don't.
No.
We solve people's problems in the most efficient manner possible when they're selling their house to make it as stress-free as possible. That's what we do. We take on board other people's problems and provide the solution to that while they're doing this. Because it comes with everything. People are selling their house for one reason or another. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'll sell my house. There's always a reason behind it. Whether it's a split, whether it's getting together, whether it's a new baby, whether it's downsizing, whether it's possibly a death in the family, a deceased estate. Every single one has an issue that has to be resolved in the most efficient and compassionate way possible. And that's what we do. That's why we always have helping you manage life as it happens as our tagline for that very reason. And we'll finish off there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show, Richard. Really appreciate it. If anybody's needing any more information, please feel free to message us direct, or you can contact any of the offices. Until next time, guys, have a fantastic rest of the day and weekend, and hopefully your house sale will go exactly how you expect it to go. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, Jim.